Another episode that is just off the chart. Like, we've been landing the guests. Nothing against year 1 and 2. Like, you guys were great. If you're watching this and you were part of our earlier years, it's been fun.
Back on. We're better. We're better.
Yeah, for sure. And you're better too, probably. But today's podcast, for one, this person has such breadth that it was hard to contain all the different subjects. And he even mentions it in the middle of the thing. It's like, there's a lot going on here. You will not be bored. So while it starts out with AI at the beginning, like, don't be worried. It's not going to be this AI conversation the whole way. It really gets juicy, and it comes back and folds in on itself. And oh my God, I can't stop my hands.
You're watching now. So enjoy this ride with Stan Berteloot. And there's some really great information about AI. I think we are in a realm where it's part of life, and unless you're a farmer or a forager, AI is something to be utilized. And not only that, but he has some philanthropic things he's involved with. And we get into a little bit about the social political realm of the planet Earth that we're all experiencing.
Don't forget to subscribe. Please donate to Compton Cowboys and to Blast and make an impact in people's lives. You and I and Greg and everybody listening, we have an opportunity to do good in the world. And, why not?
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Stuur zeker wegen them.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Marc.
And we're live with another episode of Moped Outlaws. And today our guest writer is Stan Berteloot, who is in Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm imagining was born and grew up in France.
That's absolutely right.
All right. And I'm very excited because from a cursory dive into looking into some background, you have this podcast you do regularly called Back in America.
Mm-hmm.
And glancing at a few episodes of that looks very similar to the ride that Marc and I do on this podcast. But then what also interests me, and if you both don't mind, I'm just going to read this. He designed and deployed a Nytro Marketing. This isn't a prototype or demo by his own description. It's an infrastructure that ships client work daily. Each agent owns a specific function, positioning, demand generation, outbound, paid media, content, CRM operations. It goes on and on. Plus, it's managing your inbox and your calendar.
Yeah, so that's a totally different shift from Back in America, of course. But yeah, my pay job is to be a marketing consultant, and AI is everywhere nowadays. I've been playing with AI and a little bit more than playing, actually developing. And I came up with a team of 13 AI agents with whom I work daily now. And as you said, they all have their specificity. They all have their expertise. And yeah, I mean, those are like colleagues.
All right, so I would like to understand better an agent.
So an agent is an AI system that can take decision on its own, that actually carry on action autonomously, and from A to Z. And when I say autonomous, oh my gosh, on its own, it's really on its
Autonomously.
own. Thank you. So they live on the cloud, in the cloud. They never sleep. You tell them what to do, and they are going to do it. So a very simple task would be, you said, they look at my emails. I've got 10 mailbox. It's really a pain to go through 10 of them. and the agent do that for me. They will flag out important message. They will say you should take an action here, and they even draft answers, reply for me that I approve and send.
Wow. So when you were starting with the creation of these 13 agents, did you get into scenarios where they deleted an email that was important?
I got into, no, not nightmare scenario, but pretty funny one. I had an agent that is able to go to WhatsApp. And I did that for confirmation of events, right? So I've got a workflow where people sign up to an event and the profile get enriched with their cell phone, email address. I send an email, I send an SMS, and I wanted also to reach out and start a conversation on WhatsApp. So I've done that. And as I was building that, the agent somehow found its way into a family WhatsApp group and started to wish happy birthday to one of my niece whose birthday it was. And I didn't know that because I don't spend my life watching that group in particular. But then people started to ping me and say, Stan, who is that Pierre? The agent is called Pierre Dumont, which is very French.
Yes.
I didn't want an executive assistant to be a woman because I'm an old white guy. So I said, okay, let's be politically correct. That executive assistant is going to be a guy. And yeah, so that was fun, but it could be a little bit scary, right? I mean, that scenario was fine. But as you say, you have to be careful. And I've given guidelines. So I should be safe. But I'm always watching out.
You've built a 14-agent marketing team at Nytro. And if those 14 AI agents went out to happy hour with us, which one would be the most annoying to talk to, and why is it analytics agent?
So you came up with the answer there. The analytic agent. Let me see. Who's that guy? Do you have the name there? I've got.
No, I'm just kidding. The idea is
Queen.
to have
Queen is the analytic agent. Yeah, well, I mean, because that would be boring, right? I mean, going into the analytic, the detail, the nitty-gritty of all the campaign and the stuff. I'm actually, on a day-to-day basis, I don't speak with them individually. I speak with their manager, Stella, who is an Asian woman, and Stella is the one I will delegate the job to. And Stella knows their team and will outsource the scope of the work to the rest of the team.
So what's the tech stack you're using? Like, I've got a little bit of my toe in the water in this realm myself, but there's been quite an evolution over the last quarter and even before that. And it sounds like you've been building this for quite a while. So what are you?
Not really, no, for a month or so now. I went through every single step from, doing no code with Make.com and Zapier, plugging in stuff. And then AI came along and I started vibe coding on Cursor. And then Claude came along and changed everything. So I'm on Claude. This is built on Claude Code. It lives within a folder on my MacBook, and the real agent out of this team is Pierre, the executive assistant. That is the guy who is totally autonomous, and he lives on a virtual machine on AWS Lightsail. So for, I think it's $5 a month, that's fine. I've got this virtual machine. It's totally safe, encrypted, and pretty cheap.
So are you spending a lot on API calls?
I'm spending roughly, just for this stuff running $100 a month, which is the max subscription. And then you've got all the API call to the other tools which I use, right? For contact enrichment, it will be Apollo. I've got a Tavily API for web reading and extracting article. I've got tons of stuff. I've got Phantom Buster. I've got HubSpot, etc.
Yeah. So one of the amazing things that you offer is a service, and it's AI-in-marketing.transistor.fm is my understanding of what.
Yeah, so this is the hosting of the podcast platform. The solution is called getvoicestream.com.
I got it.
And
But
that-
that's not where you're hosting your agents.
No.
Got it. Before this, I was not familiar with the command line much. I didn't use my terminal very much. But now that I'm doing similar things to this as you, I have a relationship with my terminal input on my Mac that I didn't have before. What was your experience with your terminal input?
Well, at first I went like, oh my God, I'm back like 20 years, right? I'm using text and command and, DOS. DOS was in the late 80s.
Right.
And I was like, this is not very sexy. I mean, we went through an upgrade and got used to very nice UX.
Interfaces.
Yeah. And all of a sudden we're back to this terminal command stuff. Actually, first of all, I'm not typing much because I'm using what is it called? Whisper Flow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually speaking to my AI. And the command, I've got a few commands. I actually have a cheat sheet here, which are all my skills, right? So I've got a /briefing, I've got a /draft email, I've got a /audit, So I've got all those commands, and I know the one I use the most often. And the rest is just me chatting with the AI, which is actually pretty nice. And I've got all those terminals window open, maybe 8 at a time. So I go from one tab to another, and I can totally multitask, which is super dangerous. Sometimes you launch a project and you don't even remember you just launched it. So yeah, I constantly go from tab to tab to see what's going on.
Now, is it delivering on revenue and productivity the way that people talk about it doing so, or is it still eating your time more than it is?
No, it's totally delivering. It is a little bit scary because I think it enables me. So I'm part of a marketing team. It's not just me, right? We are a small international organization, but I'm able to do my job today thanks to AI. We don't hide it from the clients. In fact, the client actually asks it. They don't really want to have to go through the pain of setting this up. But they say, hey, Stan, why don't you ask your agent to do that for us? And so, my client outsourced job to me, and I outsource it to the AI. That is, I just want to put a caveat here. It's because I'm fucking good at what I do that I'm able to do that. If you have no clue in marketing, agents are not going to be much help.
Yeah, because you have to tell them the conditions and the criteria for what good communication is. You can't just take whatever they give you. And you're the overlord. Ultimately, you're reviewing their work before you publish it most of the time,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, yeah, all the time. And actually, it's really a back and forth communication with them. I've got an idea, I've got a strategy. I will test it with the agent. They will push back, and it's a back and forth communication. But sometimes the agent will do something which I really disagree with, or I would take another approach, and I would say, well, no, I will stop. This is what we are going to do, and yeah.
One of the things I noticed in this AI realm is it's so lightning fast. And it seems like that opens up the potential for a mistake, like you just mentioned, can snowball in seconds to an avalanche of problems.
Yes, definitely. And this is, again, where having the guide rail, knowing what you are doing is important. Because as you said, if my agent were to answer to every single email it receives without asking me for validation, that would be a disaster. One thing that happened is that it did that at first. It was not bad. But again, a client was asking for something, and the agent set up a meeting in my calendar without asking me. And I ended up, going to this meeting going like, where did that come from? But anyway, my client went there. We both met and we say, okay, what are we doing here? And I looked at the notes, and Pierre was very nice. We had all the meeting notes and why are we meeting, and it worked out fine. But yes, I can definitely see what you are saying. Deleting, we had an issue where it actually deleted the field of a form, not my agent, but someone else's. And disaster can happen. I quickly built, just like Anthropics, a constitution. So I've got a constitution, and every time I load my agent, it starts by, being aware of the constitution. And the constitution will, you do no harm, you don't delete, etc.
Okay.
So that's a markup file that you've set as the primary file to address every time it launches itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. That's
Can
great.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind, Marc. Can you, like I know with ChatGPT, for Moped Outlaws, we have a thread, a project, and we've invited an assistant, a real world person, can access that project on our ChatGPT. Can we put prompts into that project so the next time the assistant comes in, information's given to them? Or like if they start going in a different direction with text and the way we want things, the AI can correct them.
Yeah, each agent has its own memory and learning and skills. So the agent in charge of content writing has its own style guide, which I crafted. And the other day I added the rule about it is not X, it's Y, typical of AI. I hate that formula, and I say, no more it is not X, it's Y. So you can enrich it, you can keep on learning it, improving the learning and the skills.
I'm not understanding you.
It is not, those sentences, it is not a disruption, it is a revolution. It's a very classical phrase,
right. Yes,
sentence style that AI uses, and it is just a giveaway. If you start having, it's like the M dash are forbidden, unlock is forbidden. I've got all those stuff, and this sentence structure is forbidden.
What I think is important to recognize about our research about you, and as we begin to understand more about you, is that one of the things that you've done as a result of leveraging this technology to create more time and energy for yourself is that you've applied that to a very human enterprise, which is in the sharemymeals.org arena. Can you talk a little bit about what Share My Meals is and why you put it together?
Yeah, Share My Meals is a nonprofit that we created just before COVID in Princeton, that recovers meals, prepared meals, not produce, but actual prepared meals from a cafeteria. Think of large enterprises, cafeteria. They were throwing a lot of very good food out because, at the end of the day, they had cooked too much and nobody was there. We actually started with a food club, a meal club from Princeton University, and then moved on to large corporation. We now work with the like of Johnson & Johnson, BMS, etc. And we recover trays of food and distribute it to people in need. We started in Princeton itself, going door to door with family that could not put food on their table. And now we still do that in Princeton, but also grew to New Jersey, all of New Jersey, and we're moving into Pennsylvania and New York. And we work with hubs. So those hubs will be other nonprofits, churches, etc., that serve their own community. And we have not trucks, but car full of trays. Last year alone, we distributed 230,000 meals to people in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and And
Are you
New
hoping
York.
that will scale across the country? And what do you think about it is scalable? How's it structured that other communities could do it?
So I developed using no code a logistic application when we launched it, because very quickly, I mean, we were managing it with like Google Sheets and trying to match the families and the donors, and we never knew how many meals we were going to have for how many. So it was a logistical nightmare. Then we have like those expensive trays, that we wanted to recover, but we didn't know where the trays were. We were giving it to a family, and then we had to make sure we recover the trays and stuff. So we have an inventory product. We have supply and distribution product. It was a nightmare. So using no code, I developed an application. But quickly, that was also a nightmare to manage. 9 different applications connected together. That was pretty difficult. And thanks God, Accenture got involved and helped us develop an application on top of Salesforce. So today we have a fully customized logistical application running on Salesforce that enables us to scale, track everything from the supply, the demand, the impact on the environment, number of pounds saved from the compost field, number of CO2 emission saved from the atmosphere, because when you throw away your food, it goes to landfill and produce methane, and that's one of the worst things that could happen to the environment. So we are tracking all that, which is also very important for organizations working with us, because they want to show that they are having an impact. And we are currently working with an incubator to see how we could resell that application to other nonprofits throughout the country that have the same problem that we have. This logistical problem is huge, and nonprofits are usually not very well equipped. Most of them are using Excel. So yeah, this is totally scalable, and we plan to expand.
I'm wondering, since Salesforce is involved, and obviously they are a financially very solvent company, and you're talking about nonprofits, and we all know nonprofits rarely have money to spend. Is Salesforce involved philanthropically, and are they donating a lot of the resources?
Yeah, Salesforce provide their application for free to nonprofit. They provide 10 free licenses, which is usually more than enough to get started. So they do that. Accenture for us, were also, it was a free involvement on their side. They give us the equivalent of $500,000 of time. So yes, all those organizations are providing some kind of help for nonprofit to get started.
So like, could someone here in the Bay Area in California contact your entity and potentially get up and running?
Get up and running, maybe not today, but tomorrow or the day after, yes.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll be sure to include that information.
Yeah. Is there any sort of statistic that you're aware of that would quantify how much food is being thrown away in the United States or North America that could be redirected?
Yes, 45% of the food that we prepare is thrown away.
Wow, nearly half.
And that's institutionally, right?
No, it's all across the board, private and institution.
So you're saying the stuff I throw away at my house is included in that figure?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a breakout on what the institutional?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Because the idea, we're not talking right now, the system, which incidentally is called Stan, right? Share My Meals technology platform, safety, tracking, allocation, and navigation. It's not going to people's houses. It's only dealing with larger scale producers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. do you feel like it's more than the statistics tell us?
It's hard to say. You know, some organizations have managed to really bring down the percentage of food they throw away. Very good planning, very good anticipation. I'm not sure how they do that because it's hard to know how many people will come to the cafeteria on every given day, but they are pretty good at that. And they were also very transparent when we engaged with some of those institutions, very transparent and saying, look, it's not perfect. Yes, we have food to give you, right? Some of them were like, no, we never throw anything out. And we're like, are you sure? It's hard to believe, right? But nobody likes to say that they are throwing food away, right? I mean, those guys, they are cooks. They like their job. And they hate to see what they are cooking going to the trash, of course, right?
Well, and food cost is a big part of their performance metrics. So if they're showing up with, 14 gallons of material that they prepped that didn't get sold, that means that they aren't actually following their recipe alignment and food costs very well.
Yeah, it's really hard to blame them. It's so hard to anticipate, but what I'm saying is that some organizations are maybe have better metrics in place and are doing a better job than others at not throwing food out. However, working with us is really, it's really an opportunity for them not to throw anything away and to serve the community. It's incredible how many, and you are going to ask me for a statistic, which I don't have, but, a lot of family don't have resource money to really put food on their table. I remember meeting one of the family that we serve. The woman was raising 3 kids on her own. She was working 3 shifts. And despite that, she could not afford food on her table every day. I mean, she could throughout the week, but not every day. And she said, when I'm coming home exhausted after 3 shifts, knowing that Sherman Mills were going to be there for me to provide food to my kids was really, a big relief.
Yeah. Has there ever been anything that you recovered that you wanted to redirect to your house, like maybe lobster thermidor or something?
I don't have an example like that, but I know that for a while we were working with a caterer serving Indian food for weddings and stuff, and that was very good. However, it didn't fit everyone. We are serving a lot of people from the Hispanic community, and they are not really into that kind of food. So you have to be aware of whom you are serving and the type of food that you provide.
What do you think about humanity where someone is hungry and they're given a plate of food and they go, I don't like that food?
I mean, we're human, right? Do you like everything that you're being served? No, or you've got your ethnic origin, you've got your... Yeah, I mean, at first we were like, come on, if you're starving, food is food. But no, that's not the way it works. I mean, yeah.
So I've been interested because you also have your own personal podcast, Back in America. And you can't really see it, but the background is a gradient of the USA flag and the French flag. And one of my friends who lives in Paris was sharing with me the recent political elections they had, and he was very concerned about the outcome. He thought that France was going to move into a dictator, fascist type political scenario. And many here in the United States believe we're, if not in that realm, seem to be heading that way. And I'm wondering what your personal experience and outlook is of the United States, France, potentially the world in a social political realm.
Wow. It is scary. I mean, in the US, I think we are there. So far, the institutions seem to be holding. You still have somewhat of a check and balance. We see, the court trying to push back. But we also know that being a journalist in the US is a very dangerous job. I went to many presentations by journalists from the New York Times, from the Atlantics, from New Yorker. And those guys say we are lucky because we have a team to protect us when we go, if we go reporting on ice. We are like in war zone with a team of people there to support and protect us. Freelancers don't have that, and they get shot at. The US is not the country we love and that we grew up with. This is one of the reasons why I called it Back in America. I did my study in the US, and I came back 25 years later to find a very, very different country. In France, that was your question, we have the same demons. The far right is creeping up. They are not elected yet. Macron is still in power. Many people will tell you that Macron is already pretty much on the right side of the political spectrum. I think it's a threat, and I think we've been too complacent in taking our freedom as guaranteed and trusting that the Constitution, that our form of government, that democracy was going to be protecting us against that. We don't look at history enough. We don't remember how quickly Germany dived into National Socialism and a Nazi state. And I think we should really look back at what happened and how quickly a country can become a dictature.
One of the key components of Germany, I think, quickly entering that realm of dictatorship was the extreme poverty that they were enduring, which I believe was created from the agreement, the treaty that was done at the end of World War I.
Probably. I cannot comment on that. I don't have enough. But yeah, I mean, so we see far right coming up in Spain. It's the second largest party in Spain. And from what I heard, they are worse than what we have in the States. We see far right coming up in Italy. We are surprisingly surprised by the result of the election in Hungary. That was a good sign.
Right.
So, that gave hope to a lot of us. But it is.
Well, this kind of circles back to your philanthropic endeavor with food. I believe that part of peace is people being taken care of, basic needs being met, and then a person can relax. And in a relaxed state is peace. If a mother is working 3 jobs and still coming home wondering if she could feed her children, that is
yeah. I mean, you're right. But look at the state of France. France is we are pretty well off. We've got social security. We don't spend a fortune on education. You can have a university education for free. We've got healthcare. Education is not as good as it used to be, but it's not bad. And yet people are, voting for the far right. Why? Because I believe that people are scared of globalization, scared of social change in general, scared of AI taking over their job. People don't have trust in the future. And when you are scared, you look at yourself, you close the border, and you try to find an enemy, right? For Germany, the enemy were the Jew. For us, it's, whatever is not American. What is an American? That's another discussion, which something I explore in my podcast.
I think that influences this function that you're describing, where fear is concentrated and the illusion of lack is created, which is then leveraged by people who have reason to take advantage. I think that to some degree that is a function of social media. And we've seen over the last 12, 15 years more readily how the various psychoanalytical tools that are part of the marketing strategies and sciences that were built have become leveraged against us from a political point of view. It used to be to drive our impulse buying. And now that impulse buying is being driven around issues that are political in nature and political identity, right?
Absolutely.
So one of the early psychological keys was by a gentleman named Bernays, who was Freud's cousin, I believe. Are you familiar with his work?
No.
Okay, so the history briefly for everyone is this guy Bernays, he was a relative of Freud, not Floyd. Floyd's that guy I played pool with. No. Anyway, Bernays got very clear about the science of impulse control and how our brains work and can be triggered to perform either shifting in belief or shifting in buying patterns. And one of his earliest customers was Goering. And so propaganda, the science of propaganda has been building steadily, and economic concentrations have been using it. It used to be just to sell a soap on TV in America, and then it's now gotten really good. And so what it's selling us now is hatred and fear, and it's using the tools, these devices, to leverage our brains over and over and create that repetitive sort of outcome. And as a marketer, can you talk a little bit about how values and core beliefs inform marketing strategies and brand strategies? Like, how are people in your business being true to this idea of the betterment of humanity and avoiding things like, well, let's just push whatever levers we need to push to sell beer? How do you grapple with that?
Oh my God. We are really switching from one topic to another, right?
Yeah, it's a wacky ride today. But that's because you're such a broad person. You have so many areas of expertise we want to find out.
So listen, maybe, I don't know if I'm lucky or not, but I don't sell beer, I don't sell tobacco. I sell extremely boring data management tools. That said, we still need to find our ideal customer profile. We still need to speak the language of the people we target. And I believe your question is still relevant, because when I build a list of prospects and when I am drafting an email sequence to engage them, I need to understand what are their pain. So who are they? What is their day-to-day job? And what keeps them up at night? If I'm speaking to a chief technology officer in a large manufacturing company in the US, for a client that sells, an ERP solution, what is that guy their job? What is he afraid of? What could get him fired? And how am I going to play with those triggers in order to make sure he opens my email and end up attending an event or, signing up for whatever. So it is still true. And to go back to what we started with, AI is making my job so much simpler, because I can explore a list of contacts. I can pinpoint exactly who's in this list. I can segment it by job title and pain and stuff. And then I can do research within each individual contact on this list to draft an extremely personalized message. I can say, Marc, I know you are doing XYZ. I saw that you posted that on LinkedIn recently. And I can really target that guy with a very personalized message. In the old days, and that was 2 years ago, I would maybe do 10 emails like that because doing 10 research that deep was pretty tough. Today, I can do it at scale. And back to what we were saying, AI is enabling scale at every single level.
But you're still using emotional triggers to drive interest, right?
This is marketing, yes.
Right? And so to what degree do you impose your core moral beliefs on the limitations at which you will allow that to occur?
That's a very good question. And I think it will, so far, what I'm saying will not change the face of the earth, right? I'm saying, ERP solution to people in a business which is okay. I don't have clients that sell tobacco, alcohol. I don't have any client I really feel ambivalent with their business. And I think that's where I would draw the line. I'm not going to work with some clients.
So no politicians on the right.
No, but I interview them in my podcast and I find it super challenging, but yeah.
So one of the things I'm interested in is the idea of left and right is one of these things that's sort of foisted upon us as if it's real. And I find that when you actually get to know people, this becomes less and less true. We find that there's some commonality to humanity. Are you finding that in your podcasting and in the interviews?
Absolutely. I interviewed a who is a hardcore Christian, a gun. He's crazy about guns. He's got millions of guns. So we have very little in common, but I keep on engaging with him. And I really like the guy. He's super friendly. His name is David, if he hears me. That, he's like way on the spectrum, right? He believed that I'm a total commie, probably. But we still have a lot to chat about. So yes, people are people. We all aspire to the same. We all aspire to love. We all, want to be loved, want to share and grow and be happy. Our difference come from our uprising, our education, our experience. That's where the difference come from, right? Our education, yeah.
Do you think your podcast is helping?
I doubt it, because people are in their little echo chamber, and I think the people listening to my podcast share my views. I doubt that a lot of people, not sharing my view will find my podcast. And this is the issue with algorithm and stuff like that. However, regularly I will interview someone who is really not, typical of my, my podcast. I will interview right-wing guys, and so that maybe screw up the algorithm, and maybe for a while I will get people that are not expected to land there. But I don't think people change that much, honestly.
Got it. I've changed in my life. Like what I've noticed is that I'm, as an American and a longtime voting Democrat, I've become extremely disillusioned with the Democratic Party over the last 10 years. Which puts me in a really difficult position because I was raised in California during the Vietnam War, right? Like I had this whole, what we would call liberal identity built up over time. My best friends are avid socialists. There's a lot of things about the way I was taught to think that still exist in me, but I've become disillusioned with this the institution of the Democratic National Committee, right? And those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And as we look at this problem, we can see that institutions have a vested interest in keeping control as a result of money. And I think this is true in not just the United States, right? It's the real issue is that money and politics have created a real problem with innovation. Innovative ideas don't get through the bulwark, if you will, again to get implemented as much as we'd like. So I'm curious about the intersection of AI agents and information delivery, marketing to this idea of a better world is possible through less money in politics and less of this red and blue division concept that we have. So yeah, I'm just throwing this out.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow you. So
the idea is if we train agents to teach us, counter the algorithm, i.e. to teach us to admire each other for our differences, to understand each other instead of fear each other, that we could begin to shift the tide on the back end of the program, of the back end of the media. It's a kind of insurgency, if you will, a digital insurgency.
I love it.
Right? We have to talk about it first.
Yes.
And then someone has to figure out a way to put the sauce in, right? To get it out there.
Well, and you mentioned social media earlier. So are you saying that like Facebook and Instagram, TikTok would train the algorithm to be positive instead of scenarios of anger emotions and those kind of?
Well, my understanding of the algorithmic function is that we actually train it ourselves by our responses. And that if we can just start to use agents to create messaging that helps us deconstruct that idiomatic framework so that we're actually more inviting to each other and less fearful of each other, pretty soon the algorithms will, of accord, because the engagement changes, they'll go, well, we've got to promote more of this egalitarian thing, these more, right? And I'm interested in the leverage of power from the bottom up. Like everyone wants to say it's Elon, it's Zuckerberg, it's these guys who are deciding that that's how it's going to work. And I think that it's actually less conscious and less centralized than that. The algorithm functions based on our responses. And so if we can trick people into being happier with each other using agentic intelligence, then we're winning.
Trick people is a little...
Trick people in being happy. Yes.
It's working. You're all laughing.
Well,
you make us happy.
Yeah, you've sort of created a 1984 scenario with Big Brother. You are happy. The AI agent is tricking you to be happy.
Well, that's already existing. I'm just wanting to co-opt it and undermine the tendency it has towards pushing us towards conflict and scarcity. Yeah,
you are going to create your own algorithm, which will be Marc biased, and
it kind of goes back to what I was interested in, where we talked about people who have a cultural upbringing, so they don't want this plate of food because it just doesn't taste right to them. And what I see is us as people, I believe for us to have peace and joy, we need to continually make choices that open our own personal boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm never going to try escargot. Don't even think
good.
about it.
And once you go past the look of it, the sauce is what makes the difference.
Got it.
It's a garlic sauce. It's pretty good.
You were born in France, but shaped by a year in Iowa. On a scale of 1 to I actually like ranch dressing now, how much did the Midwest ruin your French culinary reputation?
I loved my year in Iowa, and that's because of that year that I decided to do my studies there and come back. And 25 years later, I am today an American. So that might be counterintuitive, but the people were true. The people were curious. I really stood out as being like, an alien coming from Mars. But yeah, people were super kind to me. And because I was young, I was 17, 18, I was ready to experience anything. And I had an amazing time. So I realized how different I was. I realized how French or European I was in this community. And I think it opened my mind to many things, to the fact that the world was a big place. I hope that I also opened the mind of the people whom I met over there to the fact that there was something else than Janesville, Iowa. I remember at the end of the year, my parents came for my graduation, and we drove from Iowa back to New York and then down to Florida. And I was telling one of the history professor, I think, that we were going to do that trip. And the guy said, "Why would you want to go to New York?" I was like, "Well, New York, because it's New York, just to see New York, right?" And he was like, "Oh no, don't go there. It's scary. I mean, people are crazy over there." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, that's, again, going back to, I'm just thinking of neighborhoods that I've gone into where I had a generalized fear that didn't come from personal experience. It was hearsay. And do you think there's something that you bring culturally because you're from France that has opened your horizon easier than my own?
I think when you are from somewhere else, wherever you're from, you are different, and people will forgive stuff to you. So, it was sort of cheating. I could get away with a lot of things that could have been my own stupidity, my own mistake. But because I was French, people say, "Okay, he's just French, forget him." And I remember I studied journalism at the University of Maryland, and I still have a very strong accent, but believe it or not, it was even stronger at the time. And I was afraid to call people on the phone. And my journalism teacher at the time said, "Take it as a benefit, an advantage. Take advantage of that. People will pay more attention to what you say. People will give you more time. It might be easier for you to get an interview just because you've got that funny accent." And so I decided to use it to my own advantage.
How did that play out romantically for you?
Oh, pretty well. Pretty well. I must say that in high school, I was a star. The parents were not really
Very happy with you.
very happy with that. Oh, that hot French-blooded, that hot-blooded Frenchman. I was like, "Oh, do we have a reputation?" I didn't know I was pretty naive. I didn't know we had any reputation at all. Yeah.
Do Americans have the same advantage in France?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Really?
People like the American accent, and French. Most French people like Americans, I think.
All right.
Most Americans think differently. Most Americans think that the French don't like us.
Yeah.
And that's a trope. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah. I mean, so I know that French have the reputation to be arrogant, to be to smell, not to wear deodorant and stuff like that, which are stereotype, I hope.
Yes.
Americans, you come from a very, very big country, and the world stop at your border. So you plus most Americans don't really study geography, so it's really hard for an American to pinpoint any country on the globe, right? and that plays against you when you travel. You expect everybody. I mean, it's a stereotype. I think things change, but one of the stereotypes is that you would expect anyone to speak American, and you don't understand why you can't be served whatever Coke or Big Mac you want. But
again, we have these biases and misaligned expectations of each other,
which is normal, and it's not just French American; it's all across the world like that, right? And this is why traveling is so important. Being open to other culture is important. And as you said, at the end, we are just human beings. And you can go to a tribe anywhere in the world, people that are totally remote, that have never left, their area, and you will discover that we all aspire to the same.
You explore America through a multicultural lens in Back in America, your podcast. What is the one American habit that after all these years still makes your French brain want to file a formal protest?
Wow. I don't really know. I love this country. This is why I became American. So I don't have really... I mean, what I see happening with the Trump government, the lack of education for some people. I go like, come on, that should be... yes, I want to file a protest against that. Come on, people, read, learn about other culture. That is driving me nuts. And we see that with the administration today. I mean, we're like...
I am just always at the edge of discovery on our show. It's one of the great experiences of my life over the last 6 years to sit at this chair with Greg and to meet people like you, Stan, and to discover what I don't know that I need to know. I'm so lucky that that's what I'm interested in, right? And we can inspire people to that. We can remind people that variety is the spice of life. And in the American idiom, vive la différence, it's like these things bring us to a level of flavor and experience in our life that makes life rich and enjoyable.
Absolutely. And I've got the same experience with my own podcast. I mean, this is one of the big motivation for me to continue to do that after 4 years. Yeah.
I have a question that keeps coming up because I see in your background a piano.
Mm-hmm. I don't play.
Okay. That's what
my wife does.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're interested in that people might not know so far from our conversation that you would like them to know?
So I don't know if I want them to know, but one of the stuff I love to do is I love to just get away from all those AI stuff, all the communication, take my dog, take my canoe, and go for a canoe trip. I went to the Adirondack. I went down the Delaware River, sometime with a friend, but most of the time alone with my dog. And that's, it's a me time, which I really enjoy.
Hopefully your dog is well adjusted to the canoe and has a life vest.
He does. It's an Australian Shepherd, and he's got his own life vest. And yeah.
Can you go through rapids in your canoe? Are you skilled enough to?
Yeah.
Wow.
I lost a canoe in a rapid. So I've got a little bit of a PTSD. I'm extremely prudent now, but yeah.
There's a question that Greg and I ask every guest. But before we ask that, I have a similar style question that comes from my own culinary background. Oh. And I'm asking you this, and it may not be appropriate to ask you this, but when I was taught to make hollandaise sauce from scratch, we made the decision to make hollandaise with
mayonnaise.
No, without removing the fat from the butter. And I find it superior. Do you think that's a sin?
I don't. I love butter. I'm from Brittany in France, and so it has to be salted butter. And yeah, my wife will tell you that I use butter with everything where I shouldn't. So I'm not really of a cook, but if you tell me that you use butter, I will say go for it.
Well, I know use the butter, but I don't I don't clarify it.
Don't clarify it. Keep the butter as it is.
Got it. Thank you for that. We will certainly put all of the various pieces of information that we've gathered in the show notes for this. Is there something that you would like people to contact you for? Are you most interested in trying to improve the meal delivery aspect? Are you looking for marketing clients? What would be the best advantage for people listening to the podcast to approach you from?
So, you mentioned people who might want to try this application and use it for their own nonprofit endeavor. Definitely. If you are interested in this logistic application called Stan, contact me, because we are going to launch this, we are going to make this product available to a broader audience. So yes. If you need a marketing consultant, by all means, contact Nytro Marketing. We are always happy to take on board new clients. And we haven't about that at all, but this application you briefly mentioned, getvoicestream.com, that's an interesting one for anybody who wants to automate their podcast creation. What it does is that you take a text and use the application to turn that text into voice and a podcast. It's fully automated. You are in the loop at every single stage. So I use that to do a daily AI in marketing news briefing, press review. I go through 5 to 8 articles every night, and I produce not only a podcast, but a newsletter on top. And if you want to use your voice, the application also allows you to just upload a voice file and produce a regular podcast. So that's getvoicestream.com, and it's part of my experiencing with AI and vibe coding and all that.
Love it. All right. So that brings us to the point in the show where we get to ask you one of our favorite questions.
All right.
Greg and I have asked this question to, I think, 98% of all of our guests, if not 100% of all of our guests. And it means a lot to us. And at the same time, it may seem a little odd to you. So, Greg, if you would.
All right, our final question, Stan. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters, I will tell you why. I was on a business trip to London with a bunch of crazy guys. We were filming clients. We were, on a marketing trip filming clients. And we had an extremely successful 3 days. We recorded tons of clients. And we decided to celebrate. And I think we started drinking at 3 p.m. I had to take a train back to Paris. We're absolutely trashed. And one of those songs from the Foo Fighters was super popular at the time. And we kept on playing it over and over and over. And the drunker we got, the louder we were playing it. And we ended up emptying the buffet in the train. I think we paid for drink for the entire bar people. So that's my memory of the Foo Fighter, and I would go like, yeah, that's 100% over the M&M.
That's a great memory. All right.
Yeah,
Stan,
love that.
Thank you very, very much for your time and riding with us.
Thank you for having me. That was fun.
Recording stopped.